It's not, those are not mutually exclusive, right?
I think getting creamed is a very good descriptor.
We all are, that's the thing. The dirty little secret is that the old professors are often also getting creamed in various ways. Um, so I know I am. I mean, what I've been going through. Well, only a part of what I've been going through this semester. That's not all of it, but it's plenty. So, I've been getting creamed. So I feel like we're kind of all in this thing together, like let's get through this thing somehow. So we'll get there. All right. So I think we're streaming. I think we're okay that way. Let me drop a link for everybody. Well, especially for those that are gonna hit it later. Hey, and by the way, as you can tell from the video, I have abandoned my pursuit of the Stinky Pete look, and I have backed away from that precipice. You know what I mean? You can only rock the Stinky Pete for so long before life just suggests that it's not your best look. So that's my highlight of the mid semester, and the fact that my back keeps getting better, 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 and the stupid leg keeps getting better and better, and the nerve pain keeps getting less and less. So that's my report. Uh, Nerve pain asymptotically approaching zero. And if you remember anything at all about calculus, you remember that. That's not even true what I just said. It doesn't logically follow because that might not be the only thing you know or remember about it. Okay, let's do this thing. I don't know how long this is going to take, and I'm okay with stopping early, honestly. But let me tell you what we're doing. We got midterm week, and I'm not forgetting because I remember I wrote the big post-it note and I stuck it on my forehead. I have it right here. So here's the deal. Midterm Thursday, but the way I'm going to do this thing, um, so let me see. Braden made a couple suggestions. I want to address those from last whenever. I was probably already gone, nursing the bad back by then. Um, the way I'm doing this thing is I'm turning the midterm on like midnight on the 24th. That's Wednesday. And I'm turning it off at midnight on the 25th. And that's it just buys you a 48-hour window so you can kind of manage, to when you get going. But I'd like you to, once you start, stay in and finish once you start, okay, on the exam. So that should be okay for everybody to find a window in there, right? In that 48-hour period. Um, Historically, when we were doing classes in person, I would have done it like come into class and we're all sitting there, and even though we'd be on our laptops doing the Canvas thing, doing a Canvas quiz, you really don't need, proctologist at that point. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We're just kind of sitting there together, so you just kind of do it. Anyway, we're a little more flex, and I did add the integrity question that just which I'll read. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. How many people we got here? We got 3, 6, 9, 10, and I know at least one person's just incapacitated, and we'll watch later. I know at least one, and so there's probably a couple others that are not quite here, but I think we got enough of a group to go. What I'm going to actually do, well, let me address Braden's questions. What if we make a reference sheet during next week's review? I would recommend it. Like we can take notes that we can use during the test. No, no. Just an idea. It might prevent people from looking at stuff. Sure, more rules. Yeah. So what I want to do, and I really do appreciate that the offer, the idea. Throw the idea out. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do you a solid here because, um, well, let me throw this at you. Let me throw this at you. I've done this sometimes with exams where you could elect to do it open book, but instead of whatever you can type, in the window of time you've got while you're on the exam in Canvas, you would actually do like a doc. I mean, it would have to be like way beefier. You have to do more, but there's less of the pressure of trying to remember everything. So, and the grading would also go up. So you'd have, reduction in the pressure. Um, when I was an undergrad, I know which one I would take. I had that opportunity a couple times, and I know how I roll on those. I had one time, I think the teacher had like 20 questions and said, when you come in, I'm going to ask four of these 20. And if you want to already have, you know, some random set or all of the questions answered, then you can just walk in and drop them off and turn around. But you have to guess you have to either do them all or you have to guess correctly. There's no way to guess, right? So I just remember, I think it might have been a final. So I think, so did I did like one full page on 20 separate questions because I'd rather just do all that. It was a good learning experience too, but I'd rather just walk into the exam and just go boink and walk out instead of like going in and hoping your brain doesn't fail you. You know what I mean? Or you just like, you forget stuff. So that is an option. That is that, and except in this case, it would basically be here's the midterm, do it like a take-home exam, but the expectations are just much higher. And I've even on occasion done it with like a split where you could literally, um, yeah, let me address that, Braden, where you could literally even just pick. I've done that before too, where I've split it. I think I did that in this class, maybe the first semester, where, you know what I mean? Where you could literally say, I choose to take the exam. I take the exam. It's like if I don't get the exam, then you need to like go into Discord and like drop me a PDF of your answers. Again, higher grading standard for those that would do it take home. So let's just first thing, and I'll address Braden's last comment. But what about that? We could do. I feel really flex. We're such a small class, that I just feel we can be about as flexible as we want to be. Uh, I mean, at some level, if you say you get to pick, there's sort of no skin off anybody's nose, other than the fact that I've got two grading standards, really higher standard for those who have done an open book. The other risk, by the way, if you do the open book thing, open book, open notes, whatever, and it's just doesn't have the insight, or if there's any borrow from anywhere, any hint of plagiarism, then that's just no good either. So it still has to be your distillation of the ideas, but you would just be able to like, pick a question, do it. What do you think about those? Um, and it's like if everybody's like, nah, I'd rather just do the Canvas thing and do the quiz and sign the honor thing and let me know what you think. We can go verbal here, or we can go. Devin prefers the Canvas quiz. Sam is with Devin. Um, Scott goes Canvas. Ross goes same. Sam appreciates flexibility. Mitch goes Canvas. Is definitely a strong consensus for Canvas. There's always the risk with two grading standards. That if I'm just like grading, somebody lobs one over the wall. Yeah, and Braden, I'm going to get to your last comment. As long as we can emphasize the place to study, etc. Okay, I'm going to do you a solid. Are you ready? I'm going to do you a solid, like unprecedented. I'm going to read the exam to you. But then the key is when you sit down to Canvas, you sit down with an empty desk and a full head, and because the questions are not meant to be like terminology tricky. Okay, they're really meant to be just look. There's an idea, and that idea ought to stick with you. You know, it's really only about the ideas that ought to be part of your permanent arsenal. The nitpicky crap that has a half-life of about 3 minutes, Bah, hate it. Okay, so I'm going to read you. I'm going to read the exam to you. Take notes, type it, type to yourself, and that's going to be, and it's being recorded, streamed to YouTube, so you can also go back and review what I said there. You know what I mean? If you missed it or not quite sure. What I'm going to do though, and then so I'm going to read. I'm going to read the whole exam. It is all essay. It is all short answer, really, Ross. It's basically. Do we say that Ross or Roz? How do I say? How do I say your name? Or is it Rosh? Help me, because I'm blowing on the pronunciation. I want to make sure I got it right. Um, but yeah, it's meant to be. I'll explain. I'll explain because my exams are a funky, slightly funky thing. I hate just about every form of exam other than short answer slash it's essay, but I just it's supposed to be like it maybe winds up being like a paragraph kind of thing, that kind of a length. Um, because all the other ones, multiple choice, that to me just um, so. But how do I pronounce it though? Should I say Rosh? How do you want me to address you? Rosh, Rosh, Roz, Rose, Ross. Just give me some more guidance, okay? Um, and if there's anybody who really wants to do the take home version, whatever, you know what I mean? No, yeah, that's fine. I said 12 things, Rosh. I said, like, which is it? And then I gave you like, no, I don't remember. I don't remember. Was it Rosh? Rosh? Okay, I'm gonna go with Rosh, and let's just hope. Okay. Oh man. Um, if anybody really has like strong feelings and you're just a little embarrassed to say it, in kind of in front of everybody else, just hit me up. You know what I mean? You know how unflexible and unyielding and ridiculous I am. Um, yeah. Okay. Now, but here's the deal. So my approach though, okay, thank you. Thanks, Rosh. So I'm glad we got to the bottom of this. Um, okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you about taking one of my exams. Um, there is, how in school, in college, how you sort of ultimately have to read your professor's mind. You know that's true, right? I mean, that's true. It's an unavoidable dynamic. You can't get around that at some level. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as like some objectively neutral, testing method that, you really do need to understand kind of how your teacher approaches testing and, quizzes, tests, exams, how the teacher grades. And when you deal with essay anything, then it's especially true. Okay. So what I'm saying is not, um, you know, let me put it this way. Whenever you say something like, yeah, the teacher really, this just teacher expects us to read his mind. Okay. What I'm saying is there is no way around the fact that that bias is going to exist. All I'm trying to do is admit it. You know what I mean? Where I work against it, but you can't get rid of it. There's no way to get rid of the bias. So I'm gonna try to walk you through and give you the decoder ring, okay, for how to do really, really well. Remember as well that especially in a small class like this, I have no problem giving great grades to everybody who earns a great grade. You know what I mean? I have no hesitation. There's no curve madness, okay? And there was one time in my academic career, which goes back to my college academic career. Well, my full-time collegiate athletic, yeah, academic career goes back to '99 when I was on faculty at Oregon State for a year. Um, in that time period, there was literally one time that I actually gave there were 10 students in a graduate course at BYU on wireless data communications. And I told them going in, if everybody ponies all the way up, I will give everybody an A. Now, it's never happened before, but if you did, I'd be all over it. And everybody that semester ponied up, and I gave everybody an A. So just understand that now, I've already looked at your grades so far. It's not panning out that way. I'm just saying there's no curve. That's all I'm saying. There's no like arbitrary punishment because of a random statistical distribution. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to tell you about ponied up. Yeah, exactly. More like got on their pony and rode that thing hard, Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read for you. Uh, I'm going to. Okay. I'm just going to read this to you. This is the instructions. You know what I can actually do as well? What's a better way to do this? Yeah, I think I can pull this off. Hold tight. I'm just going to drag this over here. Okay. Now I'm going to this is the instructions. I'm not going to do the same thing with the questions, okay? But for the instructions, wait, hang on, there we go. For the instructions, I'm okay pushing that out there and having that just be like broadcast as text, okay? Excuse me. All right. So some of you, let me see. Unless you've had me in 305G, well, now there's a little of this in 2810. There's a little of this in 2810 where we do some short answer questions. Okay, points are indicated for, and as we go, stop me, drop in any questions, clarifications, anything of that sort, okay? And by the way, when we're done here today, we're just done. I got a bunch of crap to do, and you got to probably do as well. And whenever we're done talking through the questions, I'm good just being done. So we could end early. Okay, points are indicated for each question. That means every question, when it pops up, has a point total right there. And that point total is important, okay? Because for each point possible, all right, you got to say at least one. Okay, this is key, and this throws everybody off. Fully formed intelligent thing, okay? Fully formed intelligent thing. So if I say, I don't know, pick a dumb question. If I say, what's the strategy pattern do? And you're like, helps with your strategies. Okay, that's not even a half fully formed intelligent thing. It's not that intelligent. But even if you say something and it's terse, you know what I mean? This is not, the goal here is not to get in and out with as few words as possible. Okay, you're all keyboard typer types, and it should be reasonable to say some, use your words. Okay, say at least one fully formed intelligent thing for each point possible. That means if you could say more than one intelligent thing, then that's better. And a fully formed intelligent thing might tell me a little bit about what it is, explain that just a little bit, take a point and articulate that. Okay? Does that make sense? If you give a terse one or two word answer, you're losing points. That's an extremely stated version. The truth is, if you give just terse, cursory, sketchy, sentence, you're probably losing points. Okay? Probably. You gotta hit the gist, hit the punch. Okay? Now this is really, really, really key. Remember that my job as a grader, and I'm gonna grade all these, by the way, just like I'm gonna grade all the other stuff from earlier. I swear it. Remember that my job isn't to read your mind to guess what you know just because you dropped a few of the right keywords. Okay? You need to explain yourself. Okay? You need to explain yourself so that if I didn't already know what this thing was, and then I read your answer, then I would know. Okay? You need to lecture on the subject. You need to, if this is like, I usually talk about, you know, you've got your younger sibling that's like 12 and they're like, what are you learning in this class? And you're like, well, I learned about, the orders of ignorance. Oh, really? What is that? Ignorance. No, you would say, well, oh, you would start to go into it. You would explain. You would use words. You would articulate ideas. And if I didn't know what it was, then this I would know when I was done reading what you said. Okay? But yeah, you all have this habit, and I just mean that generically as college students, that somehow you've gotten away with essay questions means say the right buzzwords. Whoever's grading it, TAs or whatever, we're going to look through, hit the buzzwords, you're going to get the point, you're going to move on. I really want to see that you understand what in the crap you're talking about. Okay? So here's some, and by the way, you have any questions, now is your time. Okay? Now is your time to ask those questions. Okay, bullets are fine. Sometimes people will say, I thought you said you wanted fully formed intelligent things. Yeah, that's not mutually exclusive to the concept of bullets. I didn't say bullet plus one word, bullet plus 3 words. Okay? And listen, you've just got to believe me. If you're dropping if it's a 1 point issue and you're dropping a short little sentence, probably you're losing points. And mostly I grade on a 0.5 point granularity on average. Occasionally I'll go finer than that, but it's usually adequate. Okay? But bullets are nice because bullets are like, look, if I say there's 2 points, you might want to consider 2 bullets to get yourself to think about, I got to say 2 intelligent things about this, right? Next up, don't restate the question in your answer. Let me tell you why. If I say, discuss the orders of ignorance, now what's a better one? Tell me what the Liskov substitution principle is, right? Which I don't think is a question on the exam. But if I said, tell me what the Liskov substitution principle is. And let's just say that you then start typing. The Liskov substitution principle is, you just typed 5 words, and given your past history with some of these short answer, that's why I don't even like short answer. The goal is not to be short. It's a little essay answer worth maybe a point or 2, 3, maybe 3. I think the biggest one's 4. The problem is you typed 5 words. You didn't say anything yet. And I don't want to read. A lot of times it's amazing. It's amazing where you say those words, and I think somehow emotionally it feels like, oh, I just did a lot of work there. I just said 5 words. That's twice as many words as I usually do on short answers, you know, and you feel like you did something, but you didn't do anything yet. And then it's like, I don't know, emotionally, it feels like you're almost done. Okay. So I just say, don't do that. If it's like, just, tell me 2 intelligent things about the Liskov substitution principle or what the strategy pattern does or whatever, it'd be like first bullet. That's my impersonation of a bullet. First bullet, whatever. Uh, Something intelligent, and you can still say the strategy pattern is, does the following things, or, Here's what's so cool about it. But if the question has enough context, you don't even need to restate that. You could even just go, it helps with blah, blah, blah. For example, da, 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 da. Okay? That's okay. That's okay. I'm not worried about fully formed sentences other than the fact that it's hard to convey a fully formed intelligent idea without a certain number of fully formed sentences. Okay? Are we tracking? It's radio silence out there coming back my way. So I'm just trusting that we're all
Makes sense to me.
all right. Okay, thank you for that tangible feedback. So I know. Okay, here's another one that you often do. You being generic you, not you specifically maybe, but I'll bet some of you, which is you say the same thing multiple times in different ways. That's still one thing. If it's two bullets that say the same thing, you know, if you say dogs are not cats and cats are also not dogs, you said one thing. Dogs and cats are not the same thing. You know, um, just beware of that. Okay. Ask yourself, did you say a distinct thing or are you just filling, begging, begging for some points, hoping, praying? You have no clue, but you're just going to take a shot anyway. And then again, closed book, closed notes, no online resources or reference material. It is just you, your computer, laptop, desktop, whatever. And that's it. That's it. You don't need scratch paper. You don't need a calculator. You don't need anything. Okay. All right. Any questions about these? This is me I'm trying to help you understand how to read my mind. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, as well as I can, give you like a disclosure of what I feel like my biases are. I want to share my biases with you so you can optimize to those biases so you understand a little bit more how to succeed. Okay. Um, One quick story that illustrates this idea. I did have a situation once with one of my very favorite students of all time, turned out to be. But this student, the class was 4450, which is analysis of programming languages, which I taught for a couple of years. And same thing, short answer, not short. No, it's not short answer. Essay type questions. And this guy, turns out I didn't really know him well at all, but it turns out that he was really great student, really, really smart kid, great student. And uh, there were two midterms and a final in that class. And on the first midterm, he crashed and burned. I mean, he got like 60% or something on the first midterm. And he sat me down and he was like, I just don't understand this. I feel like I really know the material. Well, what was interesting is we sat down and he started, well, I'm like, okay, this one here, here's what you said. And it was like this, it was just terse crap, just terse. He was so entrenched in that mindset of the terseness. And I said, tell me about this idea. Tell me about, you know, polymorphism. Tell me about, whatever. And then he would just start talking. It was all like flowing out of him. And I'm just like, okay, but what about this? Boom, boom, boom. What about that? Boom. I mean, and like a 2 point question, he's just said like 10 points worth of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can see that you are better already than you showed on this first midterm. And I said, here's the deal I will make you. And then we walked through everything, and I said, so we walked through every question on the exam, and helped him to see where his answers were just overly terse, and we talked through it. What could have been said? What would be the trick? And I said, here's a deal I will make you. On the second midterm, if it's higher than this one, now that you understand better, right, the decoder ring, if it's higher than this one, I will let you replace the first midterm grade with your second midterm grade. In other words, the second midterm will count for both. He's like, deal. So now that he understood the decoder ring, a little more deeply, second midterm comes rolling through. I think that the second midterm was like 50 points. and he got like 51. I mean, he had one answer that was so like over the top. Sorry, hang on a second. I have a little space heater and I just need to turn it off. His there was like everything was great, and there was one that was like so over the top that I just gave him an extra point, and he smokes like 51, and I'm like, all right, 102% for the other one as well. And he smoked an A in the class, and he was great. And then he TA'd for me the next time around. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? It's you still have to understand the system a little bit, okay? And I'm trying to help you. Can you see? Can you see Uncle Chuck is trying to help you, help me, to help you? Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. You're still like, just strangely quiet. It's okay. I know you're all like, I don't know, midterm review, whatever. It's just a pressure. Okay. I'm going to tell you I'm going to read the questions to you now. Here's the thing. There are 14 questions. Okay? You with me? 14. And let me start by reading to you the integrity question. Okay? It's no points. Here's what it says, just so you know going in what you're going to be asked to do. It says once you start this exam, it's closed book, closed notes, closed neighbor, closed internet, etc. You study in advance, and then when you launch, it's just you and your brain. Type your name here to indicate your personal word of honor that you haven't broken our agreement for this exam by using any resources other than your brain from the point at which you started the exam. Okay? That's that. And then you just type your name. And if you want to type me a little love note, also great. Or whatever you want to say there is fine. Just say your name. And then I'm good. I trust you. And it's really just your word of honor. And if you don't have any of that, none of this really matters. I really appreciated our conversation last week about this subject. I really, really did. It meant a lot to me. And I realized that this was the right way to go. Okay. Besides the fact that if you really did, if I can determine that you were, breaching our contract, for this exam, it just will not be well with you. Okay. It will not end well. Within the bounds of what can be done within the context of a university. Okay. Okay. You ready? 14, you ready to go? Now, when I throw these questions at you, all of the lectures, all of the discussions are on YouTube. All of them. You can drop in, you can collaborate in a study group if you want. You can, to study, to review, to think about it, to talk together. That's not cheating. You can collaborate on, trying to get pointers into the slides for where you could divide and conquer if you wanted and say, everybody take a certain week and try to find, mapping functions, into the lectures so everybody can be a little more efficient about it. You can communicate on this channel as far as I'm concerned. I don't care. None of that. That's just collaboration and helping each other learn and creating an environment for discussion. The key is when it's your time to write, you have to do your own writing. And in my experience is that will reveal all. All will be revealed at that moment. It's actually very similar. Another thing I did once in a grad class, again, it was wireless data communications, but I told the class, I think there were like 8 students. Grad classes are typically smaller. But there were 8 students, and I told them that they could do the exam open neighbor. They could literally get together in my lab. I just said, you can use my lab. And literally discuss each question, and then everybody, answers it. The only gotcha was you had to do your own writing when you answered. You couldn't collaborate on the writing, and you couldn't share what you had written, but you could discuss it to high heaven. And there was already a bunch of homework that had been going on, right? With a certain distribution on the homework. And what do you think I found? And I, in fact, walked by my lab one day and I saw all 8 students in my lab around my conference table, you know, doing the exam together as a class. It warmed my heart so much. It was awesome. Now, what do you think happened? Well, any guesses about what the result was? So I already have this distribution that's based on the homework, which is always open book, you know, but I had homeworks. What do you think? There's really 2 high likelihoods. One is that everybody smoked it, variant, everybody did better than they were doing on the homework because they could do it together. And those are sort of the first 2 variants. And then the other one is nothing changed from the distribution of the homework. What do you think happened? Place your bets.
Everyone did better.
We have 1 vote for everyone did better. Who else? Scott says nothing changed. We got 2 options. Tobias said everybody got better. Braden agrees with better. Scott says nothing changed. Anybody else want to weigh in? Okay, we got a yes, no on the, we got a survey on Braden for better. Everybody weigh in on the survey. You know, better or worse. Yes for better, you know, N for worse. Or sorry, not worse. No one's going to do worse probably in that setting. But you know, yes is better and no is no change. Come on, we're missing. Let's jump in here. Jump in here. We got 12 bodies here. Well, you can just do the N on Braden's thing. Oh, Sam launched an N survey. That works. That works. You can either click on Braden's or on Sam's. It works. Okay. 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 I will tell you what happened. Most of you have weighted in on this. It's about split, interestingly. Okay. There was no change at all from the homework, which actually surprised me because I was like, everyone's going to smoke this, but I'm okay. They're a great class. They're working hard, you know. I was a little surprised, but it did not change. And the message, the moral to me was you can talk about it, but until you're the one expressing it, you know, and writing it, you come to realize, if I have to explain it, that's a little harder than if I just like recognize it when I see it. It's the difference between like learning a foreign language and understanding it now when you hear it spoken or when you see it written, as opposed to speaking, saying things, right, in a language that's not your native language, or that you learned, especially later in life, where it's a little more difficult and you're having to consciously learn it, you know? It's one thing to recognize it and to kind of get it at some level. It's another thing to cough it up and explain it. That is a deeper level of understanding. That is always what I have you do. Every question says discuss or explain. Every question. Okay. All right. Okay, let's do it. Question number 1. Are you ready? I feel so nervous. Okay. Here we go. Ready? I'm gonna read this kind of slow now. Okay, I wanted to say one last thing. And you're like, Dr. K, it's not the last thing, and you know it, and that's correct. I am happy to talk about the question, but not to rehash all the answers like a sort of a, let me give you a 90-second spitball on each of these 14 questions that's going to encompass the 5 things I want you to say, okay? I'm not going to do that. But I will clarify, scope, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. I'll clarify, but I'm not going to do mini lectures, okay? Everybody got that? You know what I mean by a mini lecture, right? Where I re-explain I don't know if I understand two's complement. And then could you explain that again right now? I'd be like, no, go to the lecture on YouTube in which I explain it. Review it again, So same thing here. Go to the YouTube lecture in which I'm talking about these things. Where is it? I don't know. You'll have to, but again, you can pool resources to find where I talk about these things in the lectures. I think that would be great. I think it would be a great idea to collaborate like that. Okay, question number 1. You're gonna love where I'm going. None of this is gonna shock you. Okay, number 1. In the story, take this fish and look at it. Remember that one? The young entomology student, Mr. Scudder, learns some critical lessons about life, learning, personal responsibility, the orders of ignorance, and software design. Discuss. 2 points. Okay? So what I'll do is pause on each one of these. If you have just any questions about the question other than, would you please do a mini lecture on this again? Okay, any questions? I can just go.
I got it.
What's that?
I understand.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Tobias. Yeah, okay, nothing. I'm gonna go.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, Braden.
it seems like you just summarize the takeaways of the article. So
Yes, at a very sketchy
I mean,
level.
I'm being really short with what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, but I think you're absolutely right, Braden. I mean, right? What do I say in there? Learn some critical lessons about life, learning, personal responsibility, the orders of ignorance, right? And you're like, no, he was just looking at fish. You know what I mean? Then I'm kind of like, I'm trying to slow pitch you here. And 2 points says, give me a couple of really, you know what I mean? Say something, pull something out of your heart and drop it, that you got out of the whole thing. Yeah.
Boomer fails to teach student a lesson. I'm just kidding. No, it's a good story. I like.
Yeah, that's the story. The old boomer, the 100 years ago boomer. Or is it 200 years ago? It was the 1800s. Crap. Okay. Long time ago, anyway. All right, here we go. Next one. Question number 2. Number dos. Let's go. It is a 3-point question. This one again, these are early. These are approximately in chronological order. You know what I mean? They're approximately. Christopher Alexander, remember that guy? Christopher Alexander introduced the quality without a name. And I lectured about this. Explain what it is and how it relates to 1, the architectural design of physical spaces, 2, the design and construction of software. Show me the money. That is a great question and really makes you think. And it's not just regurgitation. It really is synthesis. Okay. Any questions about that question?
Sorry, I finally got my mic. I had one about questions in general. So if it's worth 2 or 3 points, does that generally mean 2 or 3 in-depth topics that are associated with it that you're kind of looking for, or am I reading too much into that?
No. Remember on the details, I said you should say at least 1 fully formed intelligent thing for each point possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So no,
Okay.
it is exactly what I want you to read into that. So
Okay.
if it's 2 points, like for example, 3 points, what am I asking you? 1, explain what it is. How does it relate to the architectural design of physical places and the design and construction of software? That's 3. I'm giving you kind of 3 answers, and I'm saying, give me some meat. Lob me some meat that's going to take a couple sentences at least to do it, to articulate it. Okay? Cool? That's 3. I'm just going to roll and stop me again. Stop me if you have any questions about the questions. Number 3, number trace. Explain the orders of ignorance. Specifically articulate 0th, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd order ignorance. 4 points. How many orders of ignorance are there that we care about? 4. How many points are there? What did I ask you to do? Explain and specifically articulate the 4. Explain, it says. There's the thing. I will put, okay, I'm going to do something crazy bold. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to go bold. Are you ready for this? Because I really want you to succeed. I really, really want you to succeed. So, and we're a small class with 12, 13, 14 people, okay? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here because I was about to say I make this impassioned speech every single time. I do. And every single time, somebody, a not insignificant cross-section of students, will still drop 3-word terseness junk on me, okay? And then I'm just like, come on, man, come on. You know, and it's a guessing game again. It's like a game of chicken. You're going to stare me down, you know, to see if I notice that you didn't actually say anything. And I was about to say, I will bet you money, I will bet you cash money that despite all of this earnest pleading that I'm doing here, begging you to succeed in this class, that still somebody is going to still just not do this thing that we're talking about. But I'm going to double down. But so here's what I'm saying. I was about to bet you like how much money would I bet? I realized that it was a sizable chunk. But here's my, okay, you ready for my double down? I'm going to do an over-under here. And the over-under is on 2. There are 14 of you, I think, in the class. If 2 or fewer of you mail in some answers with stupid 3-word dumb answers, they're only dumb because they're not answers. You know what I mean? They're not, they might even be right. They're just not what the exercise is, okay? If no more than 2 students in the class, sorry, if all but 2 students, so I'm going to give you a 2-student margin. If everybody, I don't even know how to express this. It's a new thing, okay? It's a new idea. Okay, here's the deal. Pizza at Nico's. Pizza at Nico's. See, I've got my 2nd vaccination coming up. And on April 22nd, I reach peak immunity where I'm willing to potentially participate in a super spreader event with you at a place like Nico's, where I will buy pizza for the entire class if 0, 1, or 2 students mail in their answers. So if all but 2 of you or more give me real meat answers on every single question, all 14, everybody gives me meat, even if you're wrong. But if everybody, if you go meat on every question, and at least n-2 of you just do that, irrespective of even if it's right, I will buy pizza for the entire class.
I'm
Sometime.
sorry. Once you started explaining that and to now, I think I'm more confused. What do we need to do to get pizza?
Just answer. Just answer the questions.
Do what
That's it.
Yeah. No, here's the deal. Everybody. How many students are in the class? Let's start here with that. Are there 14? I think there is. 3, 6, 9, 12. I think it's 14 students. Okay. If 12 or more students give real great answers for every question, pizza for everybody at Nico's.
Okay. Sorry, once you said pizza, I was like, okay.
No, you glazed over. I know, Braden. As soon as I said pizza, you were just like, all of a sudden, you know, it starts to go. Yeah, to get pizza, thank you, Tobias. To get pizza, do it and do it right. But n-2 of you or more have to do that. Okay? No, I'm going to do it even better. Wait. Because I don't necessarily want to punish everybody, you know what I mean, for the sins of the few. I'm going to do it this way. You ready? I don't even know if this might be better. Ignore the n-2 thing. Everybody, because look, we have had no FaceTime this whole bloody semester. We have had no FaceTime, and I love the FaceTime with you guys. In some cases, some of you specifically that I actually know from other classes. In other cases, just generically, I love the FaceTime with students. Okay, so everybody who gives me full answers on every question goes to pizza. And I'm the arbiter of what's a full answer. This is probably going to set me up. I don't mean financially. I hope financially that we rock the whole thing. Does that work? Does that work? Which do you prefer? N-2 and everybody goes, or just purely individual basis? If 4 of you do this right, 4 of you are going to pizza. After April
Well,
22nd.
I think the issue is like kind of with FERPA, because that informs you about how, in some respect, how individuals did on the test.
Sam. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's very veiled. Crap. Okay, screw it. Here's the deal.
Sorry, I'm a ruiner.
You are a
it's in my
ruiner,
nature.
Sam, the FERPA man. No, you're right. You're right. That does kind of like, oh, everybody here, but it doesn't tell you what the scores were. Nah, it still relates to assignments. Okay.
It tells you something.
Here's what I'm going to do instead. No, you're right. You're right, Sam. I really do want time with you. I want time with you guys. So here's the deal. How about just this? Impress the crap out of me, and I'll just buy pizza. That's it.
Vague and open-ended, just how I
Vague,
like it.
exactly. That's right. Vague and open-ended, just like my pizza. That doesn't even make sense, but I'm gonna roll with it. Okay. So no, that's it. That's it. Just impress me. Okay. If I check the happy box, then pizza after April 22nd, and then we'll just figure it out. Could be like Friday, Saturday, or those are probably the best days to pop down to Nico's. Schedule's just, for me anyway, is the most free. But okay. All right. We're dealing on that, right? Nico's. I would love. That's a way of putting my money where my mouth is at some level, but we've just made it vague and open-ended, so we're all good. Thank you, government, for helping us to make everything vague and open-ended, but I still understand and legitimize the purposes behind. Back in the day, I remember college where your name and everything was just posted on the door. You know what I mean? Like everybody's final grades just posted on the professor's door. Yeah, those were not good old days. Those were dumb days.
Your social security number
With your
well,
then it upgraded.
Yeah.
That's right. Then the social security number was there. Back before that was a primary form of security. Which, okay, let's keep going. Keep going. We gotta go. Let's go. Number 3. I did already. That was orders of ignorance. Number 4. Okay. This one we get a little more deeply into real slides. We talked about architectural patterns. What does that term mean? Articulate a clear example of an architectural pattern in the context of software. That does not say, I'll give you an example of one. Client server is a classic architectural pattern, okay? Guess what? You can't just say client server and get the points, okay? Got that? That's not articulate. That's just tersely state. Okay. Number 5 is very similar. We talked about, and number 5 goes, we talked about idiomatic patterns. What does that term mean? Articulate a clear example of an idiomatic pattern in the context of software. So, and the only one I'm not doing there is design pattern, because that's really something you're getting a ton of with Goff, right? And with the Head First book, right? So there's plenty of that. It's the architectural and the idiomatic patterns I want you to think about you know, that are taking you a little bit outside of Goff. Okay. The next two questions involve Goff, and it's really, these are not, again, having done all those early assignments from the Head First book, number 6 goes, describe the strategy pattern. What problem is it trying to solve? How does it solve that problem? Remember that a pattern is a solution to a problem in a context, right? That's the definition of a pattern. Well, what a strategy pattern? What problem? So go back. You might be like, I don't remember. You know, that's fine. That's fine. Go on back and noodle a bit on that and try to get your head around, like, what is it really trying to solve? You know, how does it do it? How does it solve that problem? Explain it, right? And I would recommend. Remember the guy that I linked to his video, his YouTube channel. You know. By the way, has anybody hit that guy's channel and looked at any of the videos? I've done just little bits. I don't have, like, you know, full exposure to the canon of this guy's, you know, the Goff videos, but just curious if any of you have actually hit it. And it's obviously okay if you haven't, but I'm just looking for your impression of how valuable that is if you have, you know, and you know, and if you haven't, it's all good. You know, everybody's busy. You got to try to manage your time the best you can. I'll take your silence as either no, you haven't, or you're still just intoxicated by the idea of free pizza. Okay, number 7 is similar to 6. Describe the observer pattern. I just took a couple early ones. It was more like, make sure, and if you like skipped over those, cause whatever, well, it's a good time to double back, and go back and look at it. Describe the observer pattern. What problem is it trying to solve? How does it solve that problem? You could do that kind of a question. I could do that for every pattern we've talked about, so far that you had as an assignment. Okay, that's 2 questions about specific patterns. That's it on the specific patterns, by the way, for now. I reserve the right to, go there in a final or a last midterm or however we do the down the stretch stuff, okay? Number 8, it would not be an exam of completeness without Don Norman. In the Design of Everyday Things, Don Norman said that if you have to put a sign on a device to explain how to use it, the device is poorly designed. Explain. And also, do you see how what I really try very, very diligently, vigilantly to not do is do questions where there's a bunch of like terminology, and if you blow the term, now strategy pattern, observer pattern, that's, you got to know, you got to remember that by that name. But you know what I mean? It's not one of those where you're like explain the main idea of Don Norman's book. Oh, nope. You know what I mean? That's too much guesswork. I'll tend to tell you what I think the principle is, and then just say, explain that to me. Talk to me. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9 may shock you. What happens next will shock you. Number 9 is about use cases. You knew that had to happen, right? You knew that was coming. Number 9 goes, discuss at least 3 different ways of deriving use cases, which we talked about. Okay. Now, I realized that these aren't fully together. It's not meant to be tricky. I think I must have just tacked it on. But the last question, number 14, says discuss the fundamental value of use cases. And we beat the ever-loving crap out of that topic, And so there's plenty to say, but that's number 14, okay? Now, number 10, you got 10, 11, 12, 13 coming.
Hold on number 9.
Yeah.
Deriving a use case. I'm just trying to wrap my head. Is that making one or like making an implementation of one? Like, what do you mean?
Oh, okay, fair enough. That is a question about the question and what the meaning is. When I derive, what it means is when I'm done with this exercise of deriving a use case, I'm going to have a use case. That's what derive a use case means. That
So
from
it's like making one plus.
exactly, that's right. So it's like, and again, I don't want to go like super deep and double click back down on mini lecture, but you could say, okay, I'm supposed to come up with some use cases for our system. Well, what would you do? Well, you know, what's available to you? Well, there are specs, you know, there are customers, maybe there are marketing folks. I mean, there's just like, what are your sources therefore that you're going to go to? What kind of a process would you kind of go through to generate these use cases? What if I said generate instead of derive? I think derive is a little mysterious. Don't you think? Well, I think Braden's question suggests that it is mysterious.
I think generate is a more specific word.
What if I say ways of deriving or generating use cases? Should I just say generating?
Derive/generate.
Yeah, I'll go deriving / generating. Yeah, because the truth is generating, I don't know. I do like the word derive, but I also realize that it's probably more in my vernacular in this context than it is in yours. So if I stick with, you know what I mean? If I stick with deriving, you lose context that is not intended to be, you know, difficult. It's not trying to be tricky, you know, but I realize that it inherently kind of is. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Number 10. Number DHE. Number DHE says, discuss the psychology. This question makes me so happy. Discuss the psychology behind what I call, this is the ultimate read Dr. K's mind. These are not even technical terms. These are just like, look, we sat and we talked and we had a conversation about shiny objects and squeaking doors. Oh, I didn't tell you what the points were going back. I'll double back. Okay, this is a 2-point question. And you really, you know, you can do that a number of different ways for the 2 points, but discuss the psychology behind what I call shiny objects and squeaking doors. Essentially, yeah, I know it's not a term in the industry. It is everywhere I go, you know, because the terms travel with me when I go there. You know what I mean? And I'll be in like a consulting situation. I'll say, let me tell you about a thing I refer to as shiny objects and squeaking doors. I'll give a little mini lecture. And then from then on, for the rest of that design consulting engagement, I talk about shiny objects. So, you know, I think it's fair. Backing up, 3 ways of deriving or generating use cases. No shocker, 3 points. Norman, right? Explain, right, why it's bad design if you have to put a sign on it, 2 points. The observer pattern, how does it solve the problem? 2 points. Strategy, same thing, 2 points. Architectural pattern, what does it mean? Give me an example, 2 points. And I apologize for flipping off all the Brits. Idiomatic pattern, same thing, 2 points. And then we already talked about orders of ignorance, those 4 points. Okay. Number 11 relates again. Why is knowing that something sucks the beginning of wisdom, at least from a design perspective? Again, this is totally based in my lectures, our discussions, in those, you know, talking about design. You're right. Remember me talking about how you got to know that something sucks, even before you know why it sucks and what you would do about it. Okay. I've said too much. That's 1 point. Again, a fully formed thought, not just a word. Number 12 and 13, they go together. Why do they go together? Because conceptually, the topics have a high cohesion. Okay, here they go. Number 12 is discuss coupling from a software design perspective. 2 puntos. 13, discuss. Drum roll. had to bust out my practice snare pad. Cohesion. Same question, just cohesion. Okay. Discuss coupling and discuss cohesion from a software design perspective, 2 points each. Fundamental value of use cases, 2 points. That's it. That's the midterm. And what I hope you understand and can see is that this is the kind of thing that if you had to go look, I don't know, I went in cold and I just looked everything up live, it's not going to help you much, really, but knowing what they are and digging back through to really, internalize it so you can articulate it, I think it's valuable. So that's it. That's the whole dang thing. Any questions? And we can end early, like I promised we could.
Number 10, were you just asking us to explain the logic behind why you all those?
Let me
Why
look.
you?
Yeah, it's discuss the psychology behind what I call shiny objects and squeaking doors. And I talked about, in one of the lectures, I talked about Gestalt, and I talked about the fact, this is a mini, I'm borderline mini lecturing on this, but the fact that your brain latches onto patterns, and that we know that things are annoying or they're make us smile before we're even really fully aware of why, so it's really just kind of getting into those lectures that I gave about that to discuss, really more from kind of a psychological perspective, which I specifically addressed. But again, it's one of those things where if you're a little thin, but you blow me away with some other goodness that is still on point, it's okay. It's not like there's a word you have to say, that is a level of reading the mind that in general, I think is a very bad idea pedagogically. Teaching methodology, I think is bad if there's well, they have to say the one thing. Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they still understand a lot about it, but they blanked on the one word that they didn't say. So if, when in doubt, don't repeat yourself, but when in doubt, say things. Give me as much as you got. I want to give everybody 100% on this midterm. I really, really, in my heart of hearts, right here in my heart behind my UVU logo, right there. I was looking to see if it said computer science. It does. Right here in my CS logo, behind that is my heart that really, really wants everybody to smoke this exam. But burden's on you to do that. So, boom. And what I hope you also realize is that if you've gone through these 14 questions and kind of really internalized it, talked about it, even write about it or practice talking about it, practice writing about it. Don't just, practice the expression of it. Explain it to each other, in study group. When you get in there, it's going to be really natural to just talk about it, and it'll be there. So, all right. Any other questions? These are all been really great questions, and really, I really, really want to buy you pizza. I want to have a Nico super spreader event, I guess. I'll be vaccinated. I'll be okay. I don't know. I'm not sure. We still have to try to figure out safety on that, okay? And we got to go off hours so we don't overflood the place. But anyway, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Any other? You got any other questions? Any other anything?
It's all making sense to me.
Excellent. Yeah. Just prep it, okay? Prep it. Let it internalize. Let it sink deep. And do you feel like with 48 hours from on Wednesday and Thursday that is, and now that you know what the questions are, to give you enough time to, because there's nothing special to me about having it be that versus something else other than just you got to put a stake in the sand somewhere so we can just be done. But you know what I mean? I'm okay pushing it back a little bit. I just want to, whatever's going to kind of make it, a good experience for you. Any thoughts about that? What say? No, there's no time limit, Tobias. I mean, 14 questions, right? If you're prepared, how long is it going to take you? An hour? If you're in and out in 20 minutes, odds are I don't know. There's a threshold where it's like bad scores go up with time. Then there's a point where if it's too long and the time is extending, then the scores go back down again. There's like a sweet spot, I'm not saying I look to that as a guide. I just note after the fact that tends to be the case. You spend 6 hours on it, that's a problem. Spend 6 minutes on it, also a problem. All right. Okay, any other questions? I just want to say, man, I'm coming back online. I can sit at my desk again for, several hours, which is, I do have an ice pack back on my back, but I'm just saying I'm coming around. I'm coming live, and it's really a beautiful thing. And so hope to finish strong. I hope you finish strong with the class. But anyway, that's all I got. If we're good, I can be done. What say?
I'm good to go.
Talk to the hand. Yeah, okay, I'm good. Let's shut it down. Ping me if you have any other questions. I'll probably have a less likely to ignore your pings going forward than I was in the last 7 weeks since my blood-curdling surgery. Anyway, happy to be more functional. Way happy to be more functional. Holy cow. Okay, good luck on that. Good luck on everything. Good luck on all the stuff you got going on. All right, I'm out.
Thanks.
Yep.